Okay, once again, good evening to all of us, and then we welcome you all to tonight's section. So, last week I hope you cannot hear me. Sorry, let me confirm that again. Good. So, last week we came together to set the foundation, okay, and then we also understood what the word campus represents and clarity the kind of discipline and clarity that we need to continue this journey, right? So tonight we want to continue from there, and then also I think last week we mentioned to you that we have a workbook for you um, in the course of the 3 months journey, okay, and every week we'll be giving you what you need from the workbook. So today we are here for that, and everything in the workbook will be explained to you so that you will know how you can go about it and then personalize it to yourself. And every information that we also put on the page from Monday and today, all of those questions that some of us were asking, um, one that I remember, somebody was asking about the shame or something, correct? So I believe that was clarified. So today we just want to take you through the workbook, basically the week one of the workbook and what we are going to focus on. Okay, so understanding our relationship with money before attempting to control it or even grow it. That's why we are here. Okay, so without um, saying a lot, if Ahmed is here, then Ahmed, you can take over for us, continue, and then share every detail that we all need to understand. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Sebastian, for such introduction. Please, I hope I'm loud and clear.
Yes.
Okay, so already we've wasted, no, we've not wasted, but then we've used 10 minutes already. So let me just dive into that so that we won't waste or use much time here. So let me share my screen and then we can start with today's session. And today is the first ever session of the Wealth Campus. And I'm so excited and I look forward to us to have such a wonderful session tonight. All right, so please, I hope you can see my screen.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So once again, I welcome you all to the Wealth Campus series. And this is month one, and we're having our first ever session, which is for week one. So last week, or during our onboarding session last Sunday, I talked about the month focus, which is about understanding money before managing it. And also, we talk about our core learning goal, which is to help the members develop deep awareness of their financial behavior, beliefs, and decision patterns before introducing control systems in month two. And so I won't talk much about this part of the workbook. So I'll just move on to the next slide. So this is very important, which is how to use this workbook. So first of all, understand that once we are done with this session, we are going to share the workbook with you on the platform or on our WhatsApp page so that you can start working on it. And you are expected to share a summary of what you've done on Sunday by 5 p.m. So now let's have a look at how you can use this workbook. So this workbook is designed to be written, not schemed. If you only read, you will feel informed, but then there is not going to be any change. But then if you do the exercises in the workbook, then you will change how you see money. So you are expected to use your real income and spending figures. Please don't exaggerate to use figures that don't exist. If you really want to see a change in how you see money, then please try to use real income and spending figures. And also write honestly without trying to impress anyone. We are not here to impress anyone. We are here to ensure there is change in our finances. So please, whatever that you write, ensure that you reflect deeply before writing it. And finally, reflect privately before sharing the insight on Sunday. You really have to reflect, think deeply before sharing it. So week 1 to week 3 focus on learning with focus reflection exercise as we are starting today. But the last week will be focused on a lot of practical, integrative, and transformative exercises. So I start with this, the 30-day behavior tracker, which I would say they start today. Yeah, this is not part of the exercise or what we are doing for today, but then I just want you to commit to tracking one financial behavior daily for the entire month. Okay, so just try to find any financial behavior. It can be you checking your balance daily, it can be you pausing before on unplanned purchases. It's about you maybe tracking your expense daily for the next 30 days or anything. So you just have to choose a financial behavior and then you make sure that you track it. So this is a daily tracking table, day 1 to day 30. So it's very simple for you to apply it. As you can see here, which is, did I practice this behavior? If yes, if no, you write it. And if there's any note or observation you want to add for that particular day, then you can do it. Then you can track this daily, review it weekly, and this single habit alone will reveal more than any theory. So now we officially start the session for week 1. And I will urge you that please don't wait till I'm done waiting before. If you have any question, you can ask. Once you see something or a point or a section that you need more clarification or elaboration on, just raise your hands and I will call you so that you will ask your question. So let's start with week 1, which is awareness, money, beliefs, and emotional. Yes, money beliefs and emotional programs. So let's start with the core truth. If you remember, the Monday insight was about this, which is money is a tool, not a scorecard. Or let me say this, money is a tool, but not an emotional scorecard. I'm saying this because most of us subconsciously we use money to measure our worth, how much we earn, how much we how we compare with friends, and how much we can afford to show. So indirectly, it's like we are creating pressure and not progress with our finances. So this you have to understand this. When your money becomes an emotional scorecard, decisions becomes emotional. But then when money becomes a tool, decisions become intentional. Let me repeat that again. When your money behavior becomes a scorecard, then your decisions become emotional. But then when money becomes a tool, decisions become intentional. I hope this is loud and clear. So this is the reason why most people, or let's say two people, can be earning the same income, but then their financial lives will be so much different. Maybe the same job, the same role, the same position, the same salary. But then at the end of the month, someone is broke, but then the other is building his or her portfolio. It's all due to how someone is intentional towards their money. So now, your money programming, this is very, very important. I had to reflect a lot about my own personal experience, and I have to say this is very, very important. So let me start by saying this to you. Your relationship with money did not start or did not form overnight. You just didn't wake up from your bed and then you realize that, hey, I have been programmed with this behavior towards money. No, rather, it was shaped gradually by your upbringing, the people around you, your exposure towards money, the culture you grew up in, and then the experiences you lived through. Your money perspective began forming long before you were even conscious about it. Because most of us, we gain exposure to money as early as we were young, from age 6 to 10. That was when we started getting exposure to money, and we didn't really fully understood it. So our perspective towards money was being shaped by how we see money, by our experience, by how we saw our family members relating with money. So now I want you to reflect on this. Think back, way back to your childhood. Was money scarce at home? Were there constant struggles to meet basic needs? If scarcity define your environment, then you are likely to be very cautious with your money. It's likely that you'll be very frugal with your money, and it's very, very likely that you'll be risk averse. You don't want to go into any risk because when you're growing up, you saw money to be very scarce. So then, why should you something that you see to be scarce? Why should you risk it? Why should you be spending it anyhow? And it's the same for someone that grew up in a wealthy family. Most of the times, he sees money. I mean, the family spending a lot of money. So the person will grow up believing that money is just a tool for enjoyment. And that is why they will be spending money anyhow. Maybe you might be seeing that, hey, this guy has been spending a lot of money and it's very bad. He doesn't see the wealth of money. No. And on this note, I have to say this: no one is really crazy about money. Let me repeat that again. No one is really crazy about money. So I'm sure maybe you have a relative or maybe you have a friend or a colleague who maybe is very frugal with money. The person might have a lot of money, but the person will be eating bread with water instead of going to buy a proper food. And then you might also have a friend who likes spending and casa, like the person might have 1,000 CDs within an hour, the money is gone, spend it on luxuries and all that. And you might be thinking that, hey, this guy, why? Sorry to say, but is he a fool to be spending money like this? And then we also have friends that will be like, hey, this guy, oh nah, his frugality is on another level. He doesn't like spending or she doesn't like spending at all. That is our perspective, and we are judging the person. But then if you are looking at the person perspective, then no one is really crazy about them about money, because maybe while the person was growing up, the person saw money to be very scarce. I mean, they struggle before they get money for anything. So once the person has the money and he wants to spend it, he'll be like, "Eh, why should I spend it? Maybe in the future I'll have a need for it." And so the person, based on his experience or based on her own experience, will not be spending money anyhow. But for someone that always there's money in the house, anytime that the person wants money, there's money, then it's likely, not always, but then it's likely that the person will be the kind who like, I mean, risk. His risk level is very high because he sees money to be as a tool for enjoyment and all that. And that is why I say no one is really crazy about money. It's all being shaped by our logic, our experience, our exposure, and our fear towards money. All right, so money carries emotional weight. Yes, it carries emotional weight. See, you can be very intelligent when it comes to finance. You can be like someone who will be like, I'm financially intelligent. I understand how money works. But then if you don't really understand your emotion, you still end up spending money without really understanding. You'll be like, how come I spend my money this way? Meanwhile, it's not because you aren't intelligent, but most of the times it's because your emotions were carried by money. Yes, because your emotions were carried by money. So when you buy food delivery after a stressful day, you are not just buying food, but then you are buying temporary relief. When you purchase expensive clothing before a social event, you are not just buying fabric, you are buying confidence or social validation. So money really carries emotional weight, and that is why most of the times we spend not based on what we need, but based on our emotional states. And so I remember, was it yesterday or Monday? Someone asked how awareness dissolves shame. And this is where I would delve much into that. So many of us carry financial shame, shame about debt, shame about poor financial decisions, shame about comparing ourselves to others. But then we have to understand that shame only grows in silence and secrecy. When our financial behavior is understood, then the judgment loses power. So if you are the kind that most of the times you feel like, I have a very bad habit towards money, and you feel kind of ashamed of yourself. So sometimes we spend money and then in a week time we are like feeling some kind of regret, shame about ourselves. Well, I'm here to tell you that it's because you didn't understood or you didn't understand your behavior towards money. But then once you really understand the reason behind your spending, then automatically that awareness dissolves your shame. So I have to say this: you are not bad with money because you are broke or weak, but rather you are struggling because no one taught you. Let me repeat that again. You are not bad with money because you are broke or weak. You are struggling because no one taught you. Now, I'm sure most of us went through the KG, the primary, JHS, and then to the university. Let me ask you, has there been any topic or any subject that taught you about finance, or let's say about money? And when I'm talking about money, it's not about money is an object for transaction. I don't even remember the explanation they used to give us for the transaction of goods and services or something. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about financial intelligence. There has never been any topic that teaches us about that. And that is why most of the times our understanding about money is very poor. It's because the school, the system failed to teach us. So now I want you to reflect on this question. Why is it that the system failed to teach us about financial intelligence? I want you to reflect on that, and you can share your thoughts after this session on the WhatsApp page, and we can discuss more about that. So I have to also say this, and this is where I'll end with today's session. Your money story is not your destiny. I repeat, your money story is not your destiny. Where you came from financially does not dictate where you must go. And this is very important because some of us, we believe that for our family, we are being cursed. No one has never been rich. So ever since I grew up, none of my family has ever been rich. So I don't see myself to becoming rich. Like we have this kind of mindset, this kind of negative mindset about our destiny when it's come to our finance or about money. And most of you know this famous saying that you are what you think about. So if you believe or if you think that there's no way you become wealthy just because of your financial background, then absolutely there's no way you can become financially free because um, you already subject yourself to that situation. That is, you will always be poor. So everything I heard in this book is built on this foundation, which is awareness creates choice. Without awareness, there's no way you can build system, and without any system, there's no way you can achieve financial clarity. So this is the session for this week. And before I move on to the exercise in this workbook, we'll discuss that to understand our money beliefs excavation. And we have two main exercises, but then within each exercise, there are sub parts. We have the part A, part B, and all that. So before I delve into that, if there's any question, please, this is the time to ask before I move on to the exercise. Please, any question? If there is no question, then please let me use this opportunity to inform you that once we are done with the session, everyone is supposed to provide a summary of what they've learned. So I'll just call everyone here so that within a second, a sentence or two, you just provide a summary of what you've learned, an insight or whatever that you learned. But if you ask question now, then you are automatically exempted from that. So 30 seconds for anyone who wants to ask question. Else you can start preparing for a summary of what you've learned for today. Okay, so for the sake of time, if you have question, you can be preparing it for us. Once I'm done with the exercise, then you can ask your question. So once we are done with this session, I'll share this workbook with you all so that you can start reading through it. And I would advise that before you start the exercise, please move back from here, from week one. Yes, awareness, read through it, understand every single point before you start the exercise. So now let's start with exercise one, which is money beliefs excavation. Excavation. So this exercise uncovers the invisible rules guiding your financial life. So now, all the exercise, we provide work example so that you have an understanding of how you are going to do the exercise. It's very simple. All that it requires is for you to deeply reflect on it. Please don't try to exaggerate, don't try to impress anyone. You are doing it yourself so that it can help you to provide the change that you are looking for. And that is why this exercise is called money beliefs excavation. So now let's have a look at the work example, how Kwame completed this exercise. So Kwame is a 24-year-old national service personnel who earns 715 monthly. Now here is how he filled out this exercise. So let me ask, can I see, please, if you are a service personnel who is currently earning 715 monthly, please raise your hands for me. The service personnel. Anyone? All right, so Richard, Hambia, Isaac, and who again? So far, the three of them. Okay, so currently you are earning 715 monthly. So let's delve into this. All right, so part A. Let's start with part A, which is childhood money messages. So the first question is, when you were growing up, how was money discussed in your home? There are a lot of options, and you just have to take all that apply. So we have options like openly and frequently, only during argument or stress, secretly between adults, never discuss at all, discuss with shame or fear, discuss with excitement or possibility. And as you can see, Kwame take only during argument or stress, secretly between adults, and discuss with shame or fear. This is based on his experience. So you also have to reflect deeply, reflect back to your childhood experience, and based on it, you take all that apply. Now, this is Kwame's notes. Money was only used when my parents fought about bills or when we couldn't afford something I needed for school. It always felt heavy. This was the note that Kwame added after taking all that applies based on his experience. Then the second one says, complete these sentences based on what you heard or observed as a child. Money is dash. People who have money are dash. People without money are like dash. Talking about money is. And so this is how Kwame felt, or this is how he felt his own. He said, money is never enough and causes stress. People who have money are lucky or did something shady. People without People without money are like us, just trying to survive. Talking about money is uncomfortable and leads to arguments. This is based on what he heard or observed as a child. So you too, you have to reflect, and then you feel this part as well. Then the third part, or yes, that's the last part, which says, what was your first memorable experience with money? And this requires you reflecting deeply about that. Now, this is what Kwame wrote. I was 9 years old. I asked my mother for 5 CDs for a school trip. She started crying and said we didn't have it. I felt like I had hurt her by asking. From that day, I stopped asking for anything. I learned that wanting money make you selfish and cause pain to people you love. So this is his first experience with money. And this is obvious. If Kwame is an adult now, definitely he will be the kind of people that, first of all, like they will never ask for payment or salary raise. He can work for 10 years in a company, but he will never ask for salary raise because he believes that when you ask people for money, it makes you selfish and it can cause pain to people you love. So there's no way he's going to be asking for money. He's not going to be seeking to be, chasing a lot of money, different streams of income and all that. This is because of his first experience about money. And that is why I keep on saying it's very, very important for you to understand or gain awareness about your behavior towards money. It can make or unmake you. So now it is your turn. This is the main questions. The part A is childhood money messages, and you have to answer each question slowly and honestly. Honestly is very, very important. So you have to be very honest about that. So you just have to take all that apply in this situation and then you complete these sentences based on what you heard or observed as a child. Then you explain your first memorable experience with money, and then you have to also add how did this experience make you feel and all that. So this is the part A of the exercise one. Now let's have a look at the part B, which is current money beliefs inventory. So all that you have to do is read each statement, mark true or false based on what you genuinely believe, not what you think should believe. So there are a lot of statements. I think there are about 12. And if you believe the statement is true, you just take it. If you believe it's false, you take it. So here are some of the statements. As you can see, people who are good with money are smarter than me. I will never be wealthy. Money changes people for the worse. Talking about money is uncomfortable or inappropriate. I don't deserve to have a lot of money. Rich people are greedy or selfish. This is one of the most common phrases that poor people use. That if someone is rich, then that means he used a shady or a manipulative, or simply he was just greedy or selfish. So if you believe it's true, you take it. False, you take it. Please, this is exercise is very important, and as you can see here, it says that mark true or false based on what you genuinely believe, not what you think you should believe. So now, once you are done with that, we have an interpretation guide for you. So if you mark 8 to 12 statements true, then your money beliefs are significantly limiting your financial potential. This month is very crucial for you. These beliefs were learned, and that means it can also be unlearned. So please, you will have to pay extra attention to week 4 exercise. And as you all are aware by now that week 4 is just full of exercise, there's not going to be any insight or training on week 4. It's all about exercise. But then if you mark 4 to 7 statements true, then that means you have some limiting beliefs but also growing awareness, and focus on the beliefs that feel most emotionally charged. Those ones are the ones blocking your progress. And lastly, if you mark 0 to 3 statements true, then that means you have a relatively healthy money mindset foundation. So you have to use this month to identify subtle patterns that still need attention. Your work is refinement, not reconstruction. So please, just because you just read the interpretation guide, it doesn't mean that just go and take everything true or go and take everything false. Just take based on what you truly believe that the statement is true or false. Now, the part C is choose the one belief that feels most powerful or limiting for you. That is the exercise for part C. Choose the one belief that feels most powerful or limiting for you. So there's a question. Let me address that, then we can move on. Oh, yes. So you are meant to get this workbook. Once we are done with this session, we are going to share the workbook with everyone on the platform so that everyone can have access to it and you can start working towards that. So now, choose one belief that feels most powerful or limiting for you. And this is an example of how Kwame felt his own. He said, my most limiting belief is if I have money, people will want something from me. I think this is so common among us. We normally believe that if I have something, then a lot of people are going to be chasing me for it. And listen to what he said. Where did this belief come from? Listen to what he said. Watching relatives watching relatives constantly ask my
Ahmed,
uncle for
Ahmed,
money
you are making
after
us
he
laugh.
got a good job. Oh, like it's true. Most of us we believe in this that if I have a lot of money, and that is why even if we have money, we end up broken. We end up like behaving like we are very broke, very broke, so that no one will ask us for money. And I'm reading Kwame's statement, and like I'm filled with laughter because
Yeah.
listen to what he said. Watching relative constantly ask my uncle for money after he got a good job, he started avoiding. Ah, this is a
Well,
bit funny. Sorry for that. So he said,
everything that we have is clear for us to basically relate and then see ourselves in it. But then I'm even laughing myself because the way you are kind of reading and yourself you are laughing.
Yeah, it's a bit funny because listen, he said I mean, a lot of relatives constantly ask my uncle for money after he got a good job. Then he started avoiding family events. I learned that money tolerates you from the people you love. This is a bit funny, but this is his belief that money isolates you from the people you love. So part C is about this. So you also have to write or choose one belief that feels most powerful to you, and then you talk about that, and then you explain where the belief comes from. Now, this is the last one. He said, the next question is, how has this belief cost me financially? I sabotage myself when I start saving. I'll find a reason to spend it before it grows. I'm afraid of becoming that person who has to say no to family. This is very important. And it's been shaped by his perspective about what he has seen from his uncle's experience. He said that I sabotage myself whenever I start saving. I'll find a reason to spend it before it grows. I'm afraid of becoming that person who has to say no to family. This is very powerful. What new belief will empower me instead? And he said, having money allows me to help people I love from a place of strength, not obligation. Boundaries and wealth can coexist. This is very powerful. So you first have to identify the belief which you believe is true, then identify where the belief came from, then how it has cost you financially. But in case it hasn't costed you financially, you can also state about that. Then what new beliefs will empower you instead? So instead of having a negative mindset, you move or elaborate, you move or embrace positive mindset. So now it's now your turn. Your most believing belief, your most limiting belief. Where did this belief come from? How has this belief cost you financially? And what new belief will empower you instead? So all these are part of exercise one, which you are supposed to do for this week, which is money beliefs excavation. We have part one, we have part two, and then we have part C, part A, B, and C. So now let's have a look at exercise 2. And this is very practical, or let's say more practical. And I'll urge you to be very honest in this session. So this exercise reveals the emotional triggers behind your spending patterns. Why do you spend the way you spend? Why do you behave towards a certain product the way you do? This exercise will help you to recount unplanned purchase analysis. So I want you right after this session, think of your last 5 unplanned expenses. Think about your unplanned expenses and fill in the table below. So we have topics or we have headers like what I bought, the amount, where was I, who was I with, emotion before, emotion after. Then an example is maybe what you bought is an Uber ride, then the amount was 45 cedis, you were leaving work, and then you were alone, and the emotion before was you were very tired and frustrated, and then the emotion after is grief, relief, then regret. So you have to list 5 unplanned experience, then you fill the other part of the table. So now part B is pattern recognition. So now after filling the table, you have to review it and answer the following questions. The first question says, which emotion appeared most frequently before spending? Then the second question is, what situations or environments trigger unplanned spending for you? So you have to answer all these questions based on the information you filled in this table. And I'm sure it's going to be very simple once you are able to fill honestly the info in the table. Then the third question says, how do you typically feel after making these purchases? Is there an iota of regret, or you feel okay that I'm glad I spent on this? Then what pattern do you see across all 5 purchases? Is there any patterns across that? Maybe you always spend on unplanned expenses when you are emotionally down. that is when you normally make your purchases. Maybe when you are very happy, that is when you spend money without thinking or reflecting about that. So you just have to identify the pattern across all the five purchases. Then the part C is an alternative response planning. When I feel dash emotion from question one, instead of spending money, I could option one, option two, option three. I hope this part is clear. So maybe your emotion is maybe you spend money when you are happy. So then this part C says when I feel happy, instead of spending money, I could. Then option one will come, option two, option three. I hope this is clear. So this is the exercise two. And I think this is an example. It says this week
Ahmed,
when that emotion
Ahmed,
shows
sorry a
up.
minute. Somebody
Yes,
said
please.
uh, they can't see your screen. So I don't know if you can stop and then start the sharing again.
I think it's your network because I can see.
Everybody can see. Let's confirm that.
Yes, I can see.
Okay, so please then do this, do us a favor. Leave the meeting and then rejoin. Okay, and then leave your comments again in the chat for us. Thank you.
All right, so can I continue?
Yes, you can continue, Ahmed.
Okay, so finally, this is community sharing prompt for week one. Okay, so as I said on Sunday by 5 p.m., I expect everyone to provide a summary of all the exercise they've done. And this is a prompt that you can use for that, which says describe the specific moment when you learned something painful or limiting about money. Paint the scene. Where were you? What was said? What did your younger self conclude in that moment? How does that conclusion still control your spending or earning today? Write one vivid paragraph and share it in the community space. Your vulnerability will give others permission to be honest. So, this is the community sharing prompt, which you can use to summarize all that you've done in the exercise. So, now for us to move on to week two, you have to understand that this is the bridge to week two, which is you have done this hard work of looking inward. You have identified beliefs you did not know you carried and emotions you did not know were driving decisions. That is courage. Now, for next week, we move on from internal to external, from feelings to facts. And that is where you're going to use real figures and numbers. You will map your actual income and spending with the same honesty you brought this week. So bring your bank statement, bring your Momo transaction history, bring your truth. The numbers are waiting to reveal what you believe have been hiding. So we are going to end here for our session for the week. And so this is where I'll start hoping for questions. But if there are not questions, then I will start calling people to share a summary of what they've learned so far. And please do not leave the meeting right away. We are not yet done. This is the most important aspect. And one thing about financial intelligence is you can have all the information, but if you don't partake in it, if you don't take action, then there's no way you are going to feel the difference or you are going to feel the change. So please try your best to be active, be engaging, share your thoughts and all that. I was happy when yesterday and I think today people were sharing thoughts, asking questions on the platform. You can also do the same so that we can all be learning from each other. And I might have missed something very crucial or important, but based on someone's question, I will be able to remember and then talk about that. So asking question and actively engaging in it is very, very important. So thank you so much, and I welcome any question. And if there's no question, then I'll start calling people to share a summary of what they've learned so far this evening. Thank you. All right, so Chidinma, you're asking question that from your spendings, you are asking if you can write your earnings or amount based on your country. Yes, this book I did it because we are in Ghana, so I didn't want to use any foreign currency. But then, of course, feel free to use Naira if you are from Nigeria or any other currency based on your country. You don't necessarily have to use the Ghana cedis. Thank you. So, any other question, or I'll start calling people for a summary. All right, so I can see there are no questions. So let me start with, all right, so let me start with 12 campus. So that is Sebastian. Please kindly provide a summary of what you learned so far this evening.
All right, so thank you for your presentation. And then I think personally, I learned that money is a tool, and then it's not something that we should use as a scorecard. Okay. And then my understanding to that is more or less looking at what somebody else is making, what they are doing, and be like, I'm not to that point, or you get it. So maybe comparing yourself to other people's behavior and how they spend money. And then the part that got me was the let me quickly open that, the unplanned purchase. Okay, so there are times that personally I'm there, and then I know I have ABCD plans about my money and what I want to do, but then people are around, or somebody will just come and based on their story, oh maybe Anna, the whole of today, oh somebody is not okay, so the whole of today I've not eaten, and they will give you stories that, though whatever you are going to give them is not something that you plan for, at the end of it you fall for it, and then you give them maybe everything that they need. Okay, so I believe that if we all have this awareness, then the way we structure things and how we do things, even if we need to help the people, we know how we are going to do that.
All right, thank you so much for your insights. Really, really insightful. So, for the sake of time, I'll move on to Evangel, a CA Agreementer. So, please share a summary of what you've learned so far. Thank you. All right, hi, Evangel. Please, can you hear us? Okay, so let me move on to Jesse Nelson. Please, hi, Jesse. Please, if you hear me, then please kindly unmute and provide a summary or an insight that resonated with you during the session.
Hello, everyone. So, while the session was going on, one thing that came to me was something like from an experience I had previously. So, I'm new management service too, and when I started at first, I wanted to start tracking my expenses and like as compared to my income. And when I started tracking it, I was getting to that point I was scared. I didn't like how it was looking. Like it seemed as though I spent so much and I was confused. So I felt I was feeling more like I'd rather not know how I'm spending this money. No matter what, the money is going to finish. So let me just act ignorant. No matter what, the money that's there will finish. So I would rather not know for a fact that I spend too much rather than actually track what I'm spending and see how I can um, work on it. So like right now, I'm realizing that I should go beyond that fear, like what we spoke about in the awareness. The awareness is actually important because beyond that fear, I can identify ways to reduce that thoughts I have about spending too much. So that's one insight I'm taking away from today's class.
All right, thank you so much for sharing the insights. And so let me move on to Jima, Daniel Jima. So, hi, Jima, if you can hear me, then kindly unmute and share a few insights of what you've learned so far. Hi, Jima, please, can you hear me?
Yes, please, I can
Okay,
hear you.
so okay. So please, can you share a brief insight of what resonated with you during the session? Okay, so while you are preparing for that, let me move on to Jessica Sika. Please, hi Jessica, kindly unmute and share a few insights of what you've learned so far.
Yes, please. So before I share what I learned, I just want to say thank you so much for such an insightful discussion. It was really helpful. And the parts that stood out for me was, when you spoke about how our emotions come to play when it has to do with money. I remember as a child, most of the times when, like our older siblings or relatives come and visit us and they give us money, we go and buy toffee. Like we're so happy, and then we just go and buy sweets with the money. And it just made me realize that, like you said, emotions really have effect on how we see money and how we handle it. So that was a part that really stood out for me. Thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you so much for the insight. And let me move on to Richard Malfa. So, Richard, kindly unmute and share insight of what you learned so far.
Hello everyone. Yeah, please thank you for the presentation. Yeah, I think the part that got me was I think we shouldn't be ashamed of when we are reflecting on how we spend our money and how maybe our understanding before and the new understanding that we are coming to get or coming to understand to know about money. We shouldn't be ashamed of our past, but we should rather make an intentional, we should be intentional when we come to understand that past, or when we come to understand those behavior. We shouldn't be ashamed about it, but the right way to approach it or to attack it is to be we should be intentional with how we spend our money and how we use money. Yeah, thank you.
You are welcome, and thank you so much. We should be very intentional with how we spend money. So, Hamdi of Seni, please kindly unmute and share a few insights of what you've learned so far. Already, we spent over 45 minutes, so please let's be a bit quick so that we can wrap everything up and we can call it a day. Hi, Hamdia, please can you hear me? Okay, so it seems like she's not. Alright. So, is there any volunteer who wants to share an insight into what we've discussed tonight? Anyone, then we can call it a day. So, Judith Ohenidam, so please be our last person for the evening. Kindly share an update or a few insights of what you've learned or what really resonated deeply with you, and then we can wrap it up.
Hello, everyone. Okay, so first of all, I think you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so I really want to thank you for today's session was really insightful, and I think looking at the workbook, I think it's really going to even help us to track our spendings and all that. So the part that really stood out for me was where you said when we treat money as a tool, our decisions are intentional, and we treat it as a scorecard. Our decisions are emotional. So I think we should treat money as a tool and not a scorecard. And then you said something that your money story is not your destiny. Yes, so that's what I learned. Thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you so much, everyone, for sharing the insights you've learned so far. And that means that we really learned a lot this evening. So I'll hand it over to Sebastian to wrap everything up, and we can call it a day.
All right. So, Ahmed, thank you so much for your time and then your discussion with us. And then everyone that has the time to join us, so we say thank you. And just a quick one. This is to help all of us and then so that we don't see money as how money was presented to us, but then we want to see money as a tool, right? Last week the meeting was recorded. Today too, it was recorded. So we will upload it on YouTube. And then for those who were not able to join for one or two reasons, we will share the link with you once we upload it on YouTube, and then you will get it. And we continue next week. And again, we'll share week two with everyone here. We will do the presentation again, and then the book will be shared with you for us to complete the exercises. Now, I also urge everyone here to uh, go through the week one workbook, read carefully everything, understand and personalize it to yourself. Don't, this is not a take home assignment where you go and copy what somebody did, right? So you know yourself, you know how you handle money, you understand with money, basically your financial literacy or intelligence. Okay, so uh, personalize everything to yourself and then go through the handbook and provide answers to all of these questions that has been asked in the book. And then uh, we believe and hope that we will all be in a better position at the end of these 12 weeks uh, meeting and journey with the World Campus. So thank you once more for joining us. I believe I believe I spoke. You guys heard me. Hello. Okay. Okay. I just felt my microphone was off. So thank you. If there is nothing more to ask or say, then see you again in the group. Bye bye.
Bye.